What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So very anticipated video. I even put a little teaser questionnaire test, if you will, out there. It was 9 questions. All of them will be covered in this video. We're going to go card by card, kind of through the useful cards in the archetype, and just give you guys some pretty basic rulings. Some of them aren't too basic, I guess. The questions were worded to make you think, and some of them you almost had to go look at the card if you wanted to get it correct. Out of 52 people who took the test, only 6 got 100%. 9 of them got 1 wrong. The most common, though, was 5 out of 9, and the average score was 68%, so just over 6 right out of 9. Again, the main reason behind this was I just kind of wanted to see how many people would answer these questions and which questions that they would get need the most help on. And then finally, I did end up rewording it a little bit. I asked for top 5 Cyber Dragon players, and the idea behind this was we're not like a meta deck where it's like, oh, Thunder Dragon, you have wow, can't even think of his name now, Jesse Cotton, wow, I'm the guy giving you rulings, by the way. So Thunder Dragon, you have Jesse Cotton, and you certain decks have these players that you can just say who it is. So I was more or less looking at what notable names does Cyber Dragon have, and like I said, I did end up kind of rewording that. So best players, notable players, either one, things like that. It was optional. Just over half the people actually answered that one, which was perfectly fine. The 9 before it were the important ones, but that is enough talking. Let's dive on into each card, and then at the end, timestamp is down below if you want to check your test results. Click the timestamp, and then we'll go through the test results. So by the way, one question, 60% of people got wrong. Stick around. So Cyber Dragon, we're playing Cyber Dragons, right? What rulings could there possibly be about Cyber Dragon? I pulled these rulings from seeing people ask questions on the Facebook group, on Discord, on YouTube, watching people play incorrectly in real life. And that's where I just kind of wanted this guy. This is stuff that every Cyber Dragon player needs to know to have success. And a lot of it, some people may know everything I say today, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you can't learn. It just means you know all these rulings. Our next video, we're going to cover tips and tricks, which kind of go hand in hand with rulings on how they work, but they're going to be way more intricate play lines, whereas this is just straight up rulings, no plays, no cards comboing with each other per se. So without further ado, like I said, let's jump on into it. Cyber Dragon, the summon does not start a chain. I've seen people say, oh, he negated it with Appaloosa, there's a different card, and it's Cyber Dragon, it doesn't start a chain. They can respond to the summon, but they cannot negate it with a monster effect, because it's not an effect that starts a chain. It's just, well, it's not a summon that starts a chain. It just summons out. Inherent summon is the popular term, but unofficial. You can this was one of the questions, use Cyber Dragon even if it's an equipped spell to make Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. We'll go over why when we hit that test, and I'm going to say why I chose those 9 questions as well, because all of them are relevant. You can use it because Fortress needs Cyber Dragon plus machines as an equipped spell. It is Cyber Dragon still, bringing us to Cyber Dragon Core. The effect is mandatory, so not so popular now, but when Thunder Dragon was a thing, say if you had Forbidden Chalice in your hand, you could normal core, even if they have Colossus. The effect is mandatory. You must activate it. Most people wouldn't, because it's, Colossus is going to stop it, right? So you normal core is mandatory. It has to activate, and, well, they have Colossus, or they have future card insert here, preventing it from resolving, so they don't use the Ash Blossom in their hand. Now you can chain, since they didn't use the Ash, you can chain Forbidden Chalice, negate the Colossus, negate the other card there, and then core will resolve, because now they can't Ash it because they missed their opportunity, and core is mandatory, so you must activate it. So fun little trick play there with a ruling. The difference between using and activating. Core, you can only use one effect once per turn. That means even if the activation is negated, you already used it. You cannot use the other effect. The graveyard effect too, it summons any Cyber Dragon monster. It does not summon just Cyber Dragon out of your deck. Cyber Dragon Hers, you can, unlike Core, Cyber Dragon Hers specifically must add Cyber Dragon. Fortunately, Core, Hers, Naxxter, Veer, Dry, they're all Cyber Dragon in the graveyard. Unfortunately, due to the way it is worded, your opponent can always Ghost Bell or Ash Blossom it. Since it can add from graveyard or deck, you're not declaring which one. It can do either, so they can negate it with both of them, either of them, however you want to put it. However, Cyber Dragon Hers does not target. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people, like, Hers goes to the grave and their opponent's like, target, and then they'll Shark Cannon it. They'll DD Crow it, and it's like, it doesn't target. Like, that's not how that works. Otherwise, the effect to become a level 5 when it's special summoned obviously locks you into machines. It's not a whole lot of ruling, like, there, like, there's just not a whole lot to it. However, I guess small tidbit, if it gets negated after the fact, why they negate it after the fact, I'm not entirely sure. Its level will revert back to level 1, but you are still locked into machines, because that applies a restriction which stays in place. Let's say they DD Crow your Hers before the activation window. Well, you don't get that Hers effect now. Like, so Galaxy Soldier discard Hers, they chain DD Crow, banish Hers. You don't get the effect. For a while, it was kind of dependent on your region, but that's how it is now everywhere, which, thankfully, it's like that all over. I don't see why different regions like EU, North America, why we would have different rules. That just does not make any sense. Cyber Dragon Naxxter only locks you if you use the revival effect, not the summon from hand effect. Also, you summon Naxxter, target Cyber Dragon Nova. Your opponent chains DD Crow, banishing your target. Obviously, it does not get summoned, but the difference between and if you do and also, Naxxter says also, the effect still resolves. It just resolves without summoning, so you will still be locked even if its target moved. Even if it lost its target and doesn't summon anything, you still are locked into machines. Cyber Dragon Fear. Well, first off, it turns off dupe because that attack gain is immediately, which also means it will not trigger Infernal Reckless Summon. I don't know if a monster with 1500 or less attack is special summoned. The moment it's summoned, it has 1600, so it will not work with Infernal Reckless Summon. You can use it to chain block like Core from Savage Dragon, from Appaloosa, from Dragoon, and it can be used in the same manner to protect, Naxxter from Ghost Bell, from Borlode Savage Dragon, etc., etc. Cyber Dragon Dry. It's a whole turn restriction if you modulate the levels, so you can only summon machines before or after. It's not for the rest of this turn, it is the turn you activate this, meaning the entire turn. You can actually chain block Rampage's pop effect with Dry. So say if you have a Cyber Dragon on field, usually that would be like Cyber Dragon Seeger. You use Overload Fusion, banish Dry. So Rampage comes out, Rampage Chainlink 1 to pop, Dry Chainlink 2 to protect Seeger. Now they can't use Solemn Strike or certain cards like that to respond to the Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. So Dry can be used in a regard to chain block, which is kind of neat if you're playing it. Galaxy Soldier. Shouldn't have to say this one. The search is once per turn. The summon is not once per turn. If the summon was once per turn, we would not be playing it in our deck. I've seen that a handful of times too. Just want to throw that out there while we're doing everything. Cyber Emergency. You can add it back to your hand by discarding if the activation is negated and sent to the graveyard, meaning two things. One, it has to go to the graveyard, so Macabre negate and banish it. It got banished. You can't add it back. Ash Blossom negates the effect. You can't add it back. Anything that negates the activation, however, you can discard a card and add it back. Keyword is activation, not negating the effect. Otherwise, you can't search Kaiju. You cannot search a Kaiju because a Kaiju can be normal summoned. You can, however, search out Cyber Altanin if you're playing it. Cyber Repair Plant can search a Kaiju. Cyber Repair Plant only needs a Cyber Dragon engrave to be activated. The moment you activate it, if they chain DD Crow and banish your only Cyber Dragon, it still resolves because that's just an activation requirement and it does not need to be there on resolution. I've seen a lot of people try and do that too. It has 2 effects, and if you have 3 Cyber Dragons engraved, you can use both effects. You can use the second effect to keep Machine Dupe live. You can use it to keep a negated Galaxy Soldier's effect live. You can use it to put a Galaxy Soldier back if you're playing 3 Galaxy Soldier. There are uses for that other effect. We'll cover more in the tips and tricks video. Cyber Rev system, much like Cyber Dragon hers, it does not target. Also, it protects. People forget this all the time. I had a match today in a Dragon Rider game tournament. Link down below. Best online place to play, bar none. It's a 8-person $12 tournament. So win 3 games, you win $80. Pretty good. Good testing, competitive, fun. But I used Rev System to bring back Fear because I'm playing Fear in a very spicy build, by the way. And I left it, and then to force out back row because he was on punishment and things like that, I made Verde using 2 other cards because I Galaxy Soldier to force the Imperm I knew he had. So I baited the Imperm. Then I made a Verde to force the punishment, which also locked him for next turn, so I knew I'd be safe for 1 more turn. And if he used punishment on the Verde, which he did, and sent an Intis pop Fear, Cyberload protects Fear, so now I just, gained more advantage because he tried to destroy it, and he couldn't. Also, things like Sword Soul Blackout must destroy the card, so if it has that protection from Rev System, it's not going to be able to resolve because it must destroy that amount of cards. It can't just destroy as many as it can try to. So some pretty good uses there with Cyber Rev System. Cyberload Fusion, you can, capital C-A-N, can use face down cards with Cyberload Fusion. You must, however, flip it face up, verify it's a legal target, and then shuffle it into your deck. I've seen a lot of people say, well, there's no way, you can't just reveal private knowledge, and you can't use face down on your field because there's no way to show your opponent. That is not true. You are allowed to verify it and put it back into your deck because game mechanic, you are allowed to use your set cards for summoning fusion monsters. And I do word it like that carefully because in a few cards here you're going to hear why. Machine duplication. 2 things that you really need to know on machine duplication. It checks for name on resolution, meaning if the target is gone from the field, it can't resolve because there's no name to check, or it'll resolve without effect because there's no name to check. And the targeting the attack is only, that's it. Target a machine with 500 or less attack, that's it. Resolution, it checks the name, then it summons the monsters. Say you machine dupe on your core, your opponent chains Crackdown, taking your core, it is still on the field. Dupe will still recognize it as the targeted card, and you still will summon 2 Cyber Dragons. Even if possession changes, you still will summon them. Cybernetic Overflow, there is no cost, there is no targeting. If they negate it, they negate it, and that's it. That's it. The search effect. So this is one of Konami's really weird rulings that I don't personally like. If this card is on the field and destroyed, you get to search a Cyber Spell or Trap. That part's easy. The hard part is when a spell or trap is set on the field. Think of it this way. When you grab it and flip it up to activate it, when it's in your hand off the field, it is not on the field. It's in a limbo, if you will. So between being set on the field and resolving on the field, when you pick it up and activate it, it's activating in your hand, which we're going to call limbo instead of your hand because obviously you have a hand of cards. It's activating in a limbo. So if it's negated and destroyed, like Dragoon in our example, Dragoon negates the activation and destroys it, it is not on the field during the activation window, so you do not get to search. Yeah. See? Not a fun ruling. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's set on the field, it resolves on the field, but in the middle of flipping it up, you pick it up off the field, so that means it's not on the field when it's activating, apparently. That's the rule. That's how it is. Otherwise, too, do remember, chains cards stay on the field unless like forcefully like removed. Like Forbidden Droplet sends as cost, you know. They chain MST and pop it during the chain. Like when MST resolves, it pops the card. Otherwise, like if you activate it, you can chain cards later to pop it on the field once the activations, like, because it's like I said, it's this weird, during the activation window it's not on the field, but if further in the chain, or how does that work? In the chain, it will be destroyed. It stays on the field until resolution, and then it's popped on the field. And this is why this is one of the most commonly wrong questions, because if the activation's negated and destroyed, it's not on the field. If they chain a card to destroy it, it is on the field. See? IQ 600 right here. Konami, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just saying. On to some extra deck monsters. Chimera Tech Mega Fleet. You can use set Cyber Dragon monsters because it needs Cyber Dragon monster. While face down, they may not be Cyber Dragon, but they are Cyber Dragon monsters still. You can set them also under there can be only one go as a match, because while set, they don't have the attributes. You don't control the attributes, so you can set them under these cards and still make a Mega Fleet. You can use only your opponent's monster. You know, if it's a mirror match, that might come up. You do not have to use any of your cards for it. This also goes for Fortress Dragon. Sky Striker is another one. Widowmaker Core, steal it. You can still, you know, Mega Fleet them. Although I'd probably hold off a little bit because you turned off the rest of their back row. Extra Monster Zone is not any zone a link monster points to. I've seen that a few times too. I get it when you're coming back and you're just getting into links. It may seem like that's how it is. It is not. Extra Monster Zone is just the 2 zones, not any zone a link points to. You can... okay, never mind. That's actually for the next one. Chimera Tech Fortress. You can use a set OG Cyber Dragon because it's the only one that's Cyber Dragon while it's set. Also, like we mentioned, if it is equipped, you can also use it while it's equipped. One last note about these two, they are special summons of fusion monsters, not fusion summons. I forgot the exact card words. You cannot fusion summon this turn. You can still Mega Fleet and Fortress under this restriction because it is not a fusion summon. It is a special summon of a fusion monster. Children's card games are confusing. Ages 6 and up, something like that. Yeah. Tell this in the overflow ruling to a 6-year-old and see what they say. Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon. You can mill 2 turn 1 or main phase 2. You must be able to do A to do B. You do not have to be able to do B to do A in a 2-part effect like this. So you can send. You don't have to be able to attack the turn you do it. So yes, you can send in main phase 2 or during turn 1 when there is no battle phase. Also, it's a soft once per turn. So say you summon it, you can send 2. If it leaves the field or you summon another one, you can send 2 again with that other copy. Finally, Rampage can miss timing. What does that mean? It means if the fusion spell that activates to summon Rampage is not Chain Link 1, the last thing in the chain to happen will not be Rampage's summon, so Rampage will pop 0 cards. Big ruling right there. 60% get that wrong. Just saying. I get it. It's confusing, and it rarely comes up. So soon when we get to that test, I'll explain why I chose that ruling, because like I said, they are all relevant, but if it barely comes up, how can it be relevant? Cyber Dragon Nova. If this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard, possession includes hand, deck, extra deck, field. You know, even if it's an XYZ material and they use XYZ Encore and it sends it from XYZ material to the graveyard, that will trigger Cyber Dragon Nova. Zaborg the Mega Monarch will trigger Cyber Dragon Nova. Dogmatica Maximus will trigger Cyber Dragon Nova. That's the important one. That's the one that people do. They say, well, it makes a person send to. It is still the effect doing it, so it will trigger Cyber Dragon Nova. And also the floating effect, not saying I agree with sending 2 copies. It is once per turn, or not once per turn, sorry, it's a soft once per turn, meaning once per copy. So if you send 2 copies, you will summon 2 fusion monsters. Other things, this one's huge, guys. It has an attack gain. Did you know that? No, that's the lesser of the two, but for real though, like Nova's attack gain effect, it actually can come in clutch and win games, especially when you're in a grindier game and like you just need that push for game. Like Nova banished something, or banished to gain 2100 attack, can really come in clutch and win games, especially in grindier games when you know they don't have a disruption. Otherwise, the really big one that I was alluding to is to special summon from your graveyard. People will say, well, you detach its cost first and then there's a Cyber Dragon in the graveyard so you can summon it. No, you cannot activate an effect that cannot resolve before you activate it. Like, it has to be legal before you even try to use it. So if there's no Cyber Dragon in your graveyard, you cannot use the revival effect. But say you have Cyber Dragon Hers in your grave, you can detach an original Cyber Dragon and then target it and bring it back, but you must have a different valid target in order to activate the effect. Cyber Dragon, I should actually put that one on the test. I wonder how many people would have got that right. Hopefully like 80% at least. Cyber Dragon Infinity, you can only overlay this on Nova once per turn. That is not soft once per turn. I've seen 3 people, I think, in the last like year or so say that, and it's like, wait, soft once per turn, like that makes no sense at all. Of course it'd be a soft once per turn. You're not going to overlay the same copy on top of 2 different Novas and take up 2 monster zones with 1 card. Like, that doesn't even make sense. It is a hard once per turn to overlay Infinity on Nova. It's a very common mistake with newer players. I did it myself more than once when I first came to the deck because Yu-Gi-Oh players do not read. Now I have kids, so I read books all the time. If you want to be good at Yu-Gi-Oh, have kids. You'll learn how to read. Otherwise, the attack and the attach effects, or the negate, and the attach effect are both soft once per turn. So if you have 2 copies, you can negate twice, you can attach twice. Speaking of attaching, you can only attach attack position monsters. Finally, the last card we're going to mention. If we forgot anything, if there's anything else you're curious about, ask me down below and I'll do my best to get you an answer quickly. Cyber Dragon Seeger can be used during your opponent's turn as well. It is not just your turn, it's either player's turn. And this card deals no damage, meaning the Seeger that activates deals no damage or takes no damage if they're attacking you, not the card you boost. Again, that would not make sense for the strategy. This card means the card that's activating Seeger, there's no battle damage from battles involving this card. So let's get on to that test. Like I said, what were some things from the test? Like I said, 52 people took it. I posted it on Discord, YouTube, and Facebook to try and see how many people we could get to take it. So first and foremost, like I said, 6 people got 100%, 9 people got 89%. The most common answer or score was 5 out of 9. The average score was 68%, so just over 6, like 6 would be 66.6666, so just a hair over 6. Yeah, so we're gonna kind of go through it and then I'll share a few things. So number 1 was, you can see it on the screen, if the activation of Cyber Dragon Core's search effect is negated, can you use the grave effect that same turn? We went through this now, so all these should be much easier now that we just went through them. No, you cannot, and 82.7% of people who took the test got it correct. Pretty good number. Question 2. If Cyber Dragon is equipped to a card, so it's in the spell and trap zone, can you use it to make Chimeratech Fortress Dragon? 76.9% said yes. We now know that that is definitely true. Yes, you can. You guys did pretty good. There's only one question that was the majority was wrong. Otherwise, 8 out of 9, most people did get correct. If Cyber Dragon Core, Hers, etc., because I'm not going to list them all, is equipped to a card, so it's in your spell and trap zone, sound familiar? Can you use it to make Chimeratech Mega Fleet Dragon? Because The effect to become Cyber Dragon is a continuous monster effect, so as a spell, equip spell, they do not gain that effect, but Mega Fleet only needs a Cyber Dragon monster. 73.1% said no, 26.9% said yes. Unfortunately, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very literal in Cyber Dragon monster, not Cyber Dragon monster equip spell. Cyber Dragon monster. So no, you cannot use an equipped hers, core, etc. for Fortress. Like I said, ages 6 and up. Chainlink 1 Galaxy Soldier discard Cyber Dragon hers. Chainlink 2 opponent DD Crow's Cyber Dragon hers. In the new chain, will hers activate? We now know that 82.7% of you are correct. It is no, it will not activate. Questions 1 and 4 here, the 82.7%, were the two most commonly correct answers on the test at 82.7%. Question 5. Chainlink 1 Cyber Dragon Naxter targets Cyber Dragon Nova. Chainlink 2 opponent DD Crow banishing Cyber Dragon Nova. Nothing will be summoned, but are you locked into machines? 69.2% said yes. 30.8% said no. You are still locked because the effect does resolve. This is the difference between also, which Naxter says, and if you do. If it said if you do, you would not be locked, but it says also, so you are in fact locked. Out of the 9 people who got one question wrong, this was the most common answer, or the most common question to get wrong, which again is probably one of the more difficult ones on the test. Under cards like There Can Be Only One and Goes a Match, can you set a Cyber Dragon monster and make Chimera Tech Mega Fleet Dragon? Yes, you can. 75% are correct. Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, effect to gain... I did reword this because someone brought it to my attention. There was technically more than one answer. I guess technically everyone's right on this one too. Chimera Tech, I should have worded this much better. I'm going to say 75% are right based on how we all answered it, but technically everyone is right, so 100% of you are right because it was a poorly worded question. Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, effect to gain 2 attacks resolves. Later, Rampage is negated. How many times can it attack? Well, it applies a lingering effect, so it can attack 3 times. Technically, though, if you want, it can attack once, too. If it can attack 3, it doesn't have to. It can attack 1. 3 is the answer we're going for. But, again, I should have said up to how many times can it attack. And in that instance, 3 would be the correct answer. Forbidden Chalice being, like, the most common one. I've actually chaliced my own Rampage to go for game before. If you can clear their board, a chaliced Rampage does 75. And Verde does 500. What's 7,500 plus 500? It is 8,000. Fun little play. On to question number 8, the one that caused all the issues. Chainlink 1, your opponent activates summon limit. I picked this one because I figured it would make people think and kind of confuse them. And again, I wanted you guys to think, and that is why I worded some of these the way I did, except for the last one, which I worded improperly. You have not summoned yet. See, it does not matter because even if you did summon twice, you could have summoned 4 times. They flip summon limit and you chain Cyberload Fusion. That's still legal. But you did not summon yet. Again, just trying to make you think, like, okay, this, I feel like that was unnecessary. Like, where is he going with this? I wanted people to think. You have not summoned yet. Chainlink 2, you activate Cyberload Fusion, making Rampage using 3 monsters. On resolution, how many spell and traps can Rampage destroy? 0, 1, 2, or 3? Obviously, we know it's not 1 or 2. Because, I mean, technically, again, it could be 1 or 2. But 59.6% said 3, 40.4%. So 60% are wrong. It is 0 because, like we discussed a little bit ago, the fusion spell must be Chainlink 1 because in this instance, it's Chainlink 2, chains resolve backwards. Rampage gets summoned, summon limit resolves. Rampage is a when effect, not an if effect, and when effects can miss timing. So the last thing to happen must be Rampage is summoned. In this instance, the last thing to happen is summon limit activating, well, resolving. So Rampage misses timing and will not pop anything. Again, wording it to make it a little more difficult. This question, another one that was very close. Chainlink 1, you activate Cybernetic Overflow. Chainlink 2, your opponent activates Red Eyes Dark Dragoon to negate and destroy Overflow. Can you search off Overflow? A lot of people say negate and destroy. It was destroyed. Yes, I can. 45.1% of you actually said that. 54.9%, however, is correct because, again, when you pick it up and you activate it, it's not on the field, remember? It's in the limbo here. And that's where it gets destroyed. So it is not on the field. It is still destroyed, but it is not on the field being destroyed. So no, you will not get the effect. And then, so that number 8 was the most commonly wrong, and then number 9 was right behind it. Again, 1 and 2 were the most commonly answered correct. 68% was average. The Naxter question was the most common one for everyone who got one answer wrong. Only that was the most popular one to be wrong. And so who are notable Cyber Dragon players? Number 1, most votes, Yassine. No surprise there. In my opinion, he's probably the best Cyber Dragon player there is. Alex Mondelak and James Jung coming in really, really close to each other. James had 12, Alex had 11. Yassine had 15, so it was Yassine, James, Alex right there at the top. And then there was, I expected to see a few of me because obviously, hello, YouTube channel, you're here watching it. You see Cyber Dragon, you think Team Set Pass. That's why you're here watching Cyber Dragon videos. It did not surprise me. Personally, I don't put myself on that pedestal with these guys. I think they have done more than enough to earn it, whereas I would like to still do more before putting myself there. However, I do appreciate it, so thank you, anyone who did throw me up there. Blair Hunter also had multiple votes. This is one I agree with. He's a very, very good player, and he has played Cyber Dragon on and off. But to me, he's more of a very good player who played a Tier 1 Cyber Orcus deck, and not as much a Cyber Dragon player, because realistically, how often does he play Cyber Dragon when it wasn't a Tier 1 deck? And on that same note, there is actually, how many more? 3 more people who received multiple votes. Lots of people got 1 vote. I'm not going to list them all, guys. If I don't list it and you got 1 vote and it was you, well, then you know. And otherwise, I do apologize if someone else voted for people and they only got 1 singular vote. I'm not listing all the singular votes. Alex yugioh, YouTube channel, he does a lot. Hasn't recently, but Ali Khatib, if you know by his name, he got multiple votes, which I completely agree with. He is very, very smart with the deck. He has multiple tops in MBT's tournaments, and he's actually in another one where he made top 4 again, so very good player there. James Thomas, he's topped regionals in like Philly and Denver and like all across the country back and forth. Much lesser known player, hangs out on the Discord way more than the Facebook, but shout out to James. He has more than earned his name up here with everyone because, like I said, he's topping all across the country. He's doing a lot. And speaking on the Cyber Orcus like Blair Hunter, Jonathan Rivas not only has more tops with Cyber Orcus than anyone in the world, he was doing it before Dengirsu and Crescendo were released. He did it before Rusty got banned the first time. He was one of the original people, and I think he actually had the first TCG top with Cyber Orcus. Jonathan Rivas, he's a South or Central American player. Like the things he did with the deck were like unmatched. If we're looking at Cyber Orcus players, he's like number 1 on this pedestal. Blair's a little bit below him, and obviously then there's a huge drop off between the next. But like personally, like no disrespect to Blair at all, like Jonathan Rivas, just the different builds he came up with too were just insane. I did forever ago. You can look up History of Cyber Orcus. I kind of talked about it and compared the two and everything, but like the things he did with that deck were just insane, and I think he deserves to have his name up here. That's it for people with multiple ones. Like I said, there's a lot of people who got 1, so otherwise hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and I didn't talk too long. I know it's been a half an hour, but again, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Tips, techs, tricks coming soon, and then we will wrap it up with the variants video where we also show deck lists and combos for, I don't know, a handful of Cyber Dragon variants. Also, stay tuned. In a couple days here, we will have some replay with our Therions and Cyber Dragons. King Regulus is insane, and the field spell is even better. I'm excited, guys. It's pretty awesome. With that, take care, and see you guys next time.